You ready, Trent? Okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the August 4th, 2022 Board of Adjustment meeting. Could I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Ford.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
Kays.
Here.
Brink.
Here.
Oletsky.
Present.
Dargis Johnson.
Here.
And Spire.
Here.
And Colhane and Dolly are absent. I feel like I'm missing one.
That's everyone.
That is. All right. We have a quorum.
All right, we have a quorum. Good deal. Third item on
Brandy?
the...
This is Ford. It's still not on channel 2, just as an FYI.
Okay. Well, that might be something with the TV. If you do...
Okay.
All right. So, and then actually, I just want to state too, so for Board of Adjustment, for the conditional use action items, there needs to be 2/3 of the board, of the entire board. There's 7 members here, so there needs to be 5 yes votes. And then for a variance, and then for a conditional use, you need 4 yes votes to pass. We can proceed.
Okay, thank you. Third item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from July 7th. Could I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Fourth item on the agenda is our regular agenda. 4A is a conditional use application for off-street parking in the R3 district. Brandy, will you take over, please?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. And actually, I'm going to clarify what I said previously. So there needs to still be 5 for a conditional use for a yes, or for a motion to pass. So, thank you for that, and sorry for that, had to make that clarification. So what we're looking at here today is a conditional use request for a parking lot at 1127 First Avenue Northeast, and this property is zoned R3 multifamily residential. And if you recall, at the July 7th meeting, there was a conditional use request for the property to the west. They showed this property on the concept plan as being a part of the parking lot. It was not legally noticed though, so that's why it's in front of you again, just to have it memorialized and following the procedure. So same thing, I'll get the agenda pulled up here. Where it's the same concept plan that we looked at before. Again, all of the screening requirements is required by ordinance, so that will be handled at the time of permit application. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing it back to us when there is some discrepancy and making sure everything's on the up and up. This does have a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. If there is anyone who wishes to speak in favor or against this item, please feel free to step up to the mic and state your name for the record. Or if staff has any questions for Brandy, but like she mentioned, we did go over this last meeting. Seeing no one come up and hearing no questions, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion in a second.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second, and I will do a roll call vote on this, so Brandy, will please do roll call.
All right. Spire.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Kays.
Yes.
Brink.
Yes.
Oletsky.
Yes.
Dargis Johnson.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Moving on in the agenda is item 4B, which is board consideration of a conditional use request for storage units on 19th Street Northeast. Brandy, will you take over, please?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. And again, if you guys recall, we did discuss this item on the July 7th meeting, and the application was withdrawn by the applicant. So what we're asking, or what they're asking for, is for the conditional use of storage units in the C3 Highway Commercial District. This is just, this is the old Ace Hardware building where the VA clinic is currently on the south side. And so they are planning to do climate-controlled storage units indoors. I'll pull up their site plan that they've provided that shows access. After 1 second, that is not on here, so let me pull it out of the files here. Okay. Let me actually look on here quick. I'll pull it up off of OpenGov. I can turn it over for discussion, but anyways, they are planning on approximately 30 units, all indoors. They will have, ingress and egress will be to the north from this side of the building. They're not proposing, any additional lighting or exterior changes to the building that currently exists. And yeah, with that, I'll open it up for, or I'll turn it over to the board and I'll pull up that site plan to help better
Mr. Chair.
explain.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Todd.
So Brandy, commercial storage facilities are a conditional use in the C3 zone. We have no specific guidelines for commercial storage facilities, performance requirements, other than our standard CUP standard regulations.
Yep, just, yep.
And this facility, other than the addition of maybe some garage doors on the north that aren't there today, would be the only substantive changes in the appearance of the building.
I don't believe that they're even gonna be garage doors,
More of a,
just double doors.
just a double door.
But that's where I believe the applicants are here, so they can clarify that.
So, driving by it a week from now with storage going on it and driving by it today, you would not normally notice any differences between the structures.
Right.
That's all.
Thank you. And I'm just going to mention that last meeting before it was withdrawn, we talked about parking requirements, and with the amount of parking that is available in the current lot, it meets both the needs for this and the VA.
It does.
Yeah, yep. And I will open the public hearing, so if there is anyone who wishes to speak in favor or against this item, please feel free to address.
Right here, and then you just,
Please state your name for the record.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Eric Card, and I own C2W, which is the building that we purchased in 2018 for the new location for the community-based outpatient clinic for the VA. We're a service-disabled veteran-owned company, so the building itself and the primary use of it is clearly near and dear to my heart. Since we opened the doors in 2019, we've been trying to put a tenant in that additional 6,000 square feet of space. There hasn't been a day probably since we purchased the building that we haven't talked to somebody local in town. Joy has been our primary, I believe, realtor. We've had a couple of people, actually had one person under contract to put a dental surgery suite in that location, ended up not working out for the dental company. This was about a year and a half ago. So we're sitting on this 6,000 square feet of space, and I don't know, about 8 months ago I had the idea that to look around for indoor climate-controlled storage space in Watertown and found none. So I contacted a storage unit company that's what they do, is they do both the big stuff outside that you see and renovate interior space such as ours. Had them come down, walk through the space, lay it out. If you can't find it, I do have extra copies of our layout. So you'll see on what we're proposing is, and this is actually going to have a minor change. We talked to, again, our storage unit supplier, and currently on the front of the building it shows those, the two double doors. We're actually going to remove this inner door space. We would like to remove this outer storefront and make one large sliding storefront door system. That's clearly, to get in, you have to have the code to get in. It's all locked down for tenant use only. That'll allow them to enter the space with plenty of room, use the carts that we would have in the facility for the use. Indoor storage is primarily used for people that have nicer stuff that they want to keep climate controlled. We're not talking about storing cars or motorcycles or anything that has a flammable component to it. We don't want anything like that in there. We'll have cameras in the facility that if there was an issue, or we'll be able to go back, and the whole building has monitoring. The whole building is sprinkled, so this space would also be sprinkled space.
Randy? Sir, I'll ask you the question directly. So 6 months from now, I'm driving by that building as if I was driving by it today. Other than maybe the changing of the doors that you're talking about, I wouldn't know what was going on inside of that building one way or the other than maybe a sign.
A sign. We would want to have, a sign that says, climate-controlled indoor storage. Very professional looking. Clearly, if you've been by the community-based outpatient clinic, we put together a good product.
And then the follow-up that we had talked about at the last meeting was the idea of about reducing the amount of flammables in the building, especially on the common wall with the clinic, just from the event of having veterans being there and ambulatory issues and those types of things, and no issues with that.
I would have no issues. We would, of course, we cannot fully control what the public does. In the contracts that we would write up with the suppliers, we would put language in there to this is not a storage facility for flammables or ammunition or things of that nature.
But just to reiterate, this will all meet the parking requirements and stuff for the size of the building and number of units and?
Yes,
Good, thank you.
because they also have the overflow with the VA clinic.
Are there any other questions for the applicant while we have him up here at the mic from any of the board members?
Could you revisit, I know there was talk about doors or access to the north side of the building. Is that going to continue or be future, or where is that at?
Yeah, I guess I don't know where that came from. Our intent was never to have any access from the north. We would just use the existing, change the existing system. Instead of the two double swing doors, make one larger sliding door for ease of access for getting in and out of the facility.
Okay, so this is facing west.
Correct.
I think that discussion happened last when we were talking, because we're not allowed to have, these doors and bays that face residential neighborhoods across the street. So then the question was, well, maybe it'll go on the north side. And I think that's how that conversation had. But you've addressed, I think, that concern in this refurbished plan.
Eric, is this site going to be manned by a manager?
We have a building manager that manages the entire building, somebody local, as is all of our staff for the entire facility. All of our cleaner, our maintenance staff, our management are all local Watertown residents.
And then as far as,
But, sorry, it will not be manned daily or anything. There's not like an office. It's an online system. Somebody wants to rent a unit, there would be a QR code. From what I understand, I'm sorry, I'm not super technological, but from the way it was explained to me from the company that's going to put it in, they have a whole system that is pretty much proven to work. You come up, you scan. I'm looking for a 10 by 10 unit. Oh, there's one available. I can select it. I can see how much it costs. I can put in my credit card, and then you get the access code to the door. So that's to me how the system was described that it would work. And then of course our contract would all be digital, that they would digitally sign.
and just for the record, there is indoor storage controlled, climate controlled in Watertown, but regardless.
Okay.
My second question would be, when they leave dumpsters for, this unwanted materials that, when they, what will you be doing with that? I mean, probably I'll just leave it in the stall, because that'd be way easier for me to just leave it there and you deal with it.
Right.
So will you have dumpsters that will be able to, hold whatever I decided I didn't want to take with me?
So we have dumpsters on the location that are ours on they're not on this site. They're actually, you can see them on our overall site plan, which I don't know. Actually, I don't have that. There are two large, thank you. Yes, two large dumpsters, a dumpster enclosure right there that are for the entire facility. Now,
if they would add additional, and they did reference that on the application, that they will have screened in refuse receptacles. And so depending on if they want to have it indoor refuse area or whatnot, if it was outdoors, it would have to be screened.
It's no different than any office building. If they were to go belly up, or if they were to leave, and the new tenant takes over, they would put the refuse in a refuse receptacle. If there was more refuse there, the owners of the property would be responsible for taking care of it from a nuisance perspective. Is that correct, Brandy?
Yes. And if it became an issue where there was a lot of trash outside, we hear that all the time, then the code enforcement officer with the police department takes care of that. And if it's an issue with the site itself, then we send a letter to the property owner to tell them that if it's a matter of that they don't have the proper screening, so there's trash blowing out of the receptacle, then those types of situations we remedy. But it's definitely, we have the means of addressing it.
And if there were documented complaints over time and the city wanted to bring it back to the Board of Adjustment, we could always have a hearing to revoke permits. CUP permits.
Yeah,
We usually don't. We don't have a history of doing that.
No.
But we have the authority as the Board of Adjustment to revoke any permit that's been issued by the board.
Well, but the city has our own means of making sure that nuisances are taken care of.
Right. But I'm just saying, if somebody wanted to make a condition to the permit that they have to maintain the property to city standards, or it's subject to revocation of the permit, that could be done if we wanted to at the Board of Adjustment level.
If you wanted to, but we hold every
I'm not
property.
recommending it, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that is an option.
Right. We hold every property to that standard.
Brandy, could you go back to their
Do you want the
layout? Yeah, and I guess from my angle, I can't quite see, but it looks like there's the largest space. There's a couple that are 10 by 16 or one 10 by. I mean, so we're not talking huge storage. On those, I mean, again, I guess I'm not super familiar with this type of storage. Are we talking you have a 3-foot wide door by 10? Is it a roll-up door? Is it a, help me?
Yeah, the larger units, the 10 by 10 and, well, the 7.5 by 10 would be a smaller roll-up door. There would be nothing that's wide enough, again, to like get, if somebody tried to get a car in there, I can't imagine it, but.
Well, and even through 5-foot hallways.
Right, they're 5-foot hallways. So they are smaller roll-up doors, and like the 5 by 12, that would be a smaller walk-up or walk-in door. But yeah, they're the nice roll-up doors that.
I guess my concern, and again, it's kind of, I feel it's beyond your control. I know you can, you know, whatever, request non-flammable material. I just think to me that's gonna be something hard to police, that if someone's got, you know, whatever, weed eater, leaf blower, that type of thing. I guess that's where my kind of concern comes in with the VA clinic next door of, how you're really gonna, you know, police those type of combustible materials. I don't know if that's the best fit for an adjacent structure use.
I would think too that, I mean, however their contracts are written, but if they want people to be able to safely store valuables or just their items in here, that they would probably have some protections themselves as well.
Would that be a firewall between the storage units and the VA clinic? Is that a rated firewall?
It's already an existing rated 1-hour firewall, yes.
Brandy, is this application, was this ran by the design review team or the fire marshal or anything like that? Did they have any concerns or?
The building official and the fire marshal have reviewed it, and I do not believe that there are concerns.
Thank you.
And then, so it's reviewed at the time of permit issuance by the people that need to see it. So the building official will have the opportunity to review the plans in greater depth, and if there's additional requirements that he has the expertise of pointing out, that can happen. But first, they need to just know if the use is okay.
Thank you for that. And, you know, I see the fire marshal shaking his head no, that he doesn't have a concern for those online that can't see. And to me personally, I'm not concerned overall with the fire issue. I mean, I can't really think of ever hearing of a lawnmower exploding or something along those natures. If that's what someone really wanted to bring into this, I don't really think that it poses a hazard to the whole facility. I mean, but that's my thoughts. The public hearing is open. I will ask if there's anyone else that wishes to speak in favor or against this item. You do have a chance to come up to the mic as well.
I will.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Paige Ryer, and I am the property manager. So I've been listening, and a few of the concerns you have is maybe garbage flying around, or who's coming in and out, and what are they bringing. And right now, that space is empty, but we're in it frequently checking it. But we do go to the property, I would say 3 times a week on average, if not more. We take care of the grounds. We are in constant contact with the VA manager. So anytime we have anything under concern, it's videos, investigated and reported, documented and fixed immediately. Most of our issues are fixed within the week or addressed if we can't get something there to maybe fix it. So I am a Watertown resident, and I would hate to see, I can see from a resident perspective that, hey, we want to throw in storage unit on a nice residential area with new homes going in. I could see where you could see that would be a downfall, but knowing the owners and how they take care of it and my responsibility, and then I'm actually there, I'm not just in an office saying I'm there, I actually am on the property frequently. I don't have that fear. And we have a lot of apartment buildings, and I actually think it would be a great asset for people that are coming in and out of apartment buildings to have a safe place nearby for, say, extra photos or whatever it is, a safe place that's controlled, that's maybe not in the outdoor storage units that you see where animals and water can get into. So, but as far as, and I would also say, as we can't control what people bring in, we can watch video. And I can walk through the building and smell things and wonder if something's off, check doors, those kind of things. So it won't be a completely online automated facility that nobody is ever paying attention to what's going on around it.
Thank you. Does any board members have any questions for Paige, the property manager? Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak in favor or against this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion and a second for discussion from the board.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I think the last time with the consternation amongst the board was what's it going to look like when we think of storage and storage units and what they're proposing. I think, again, goes back to the issue I had last month, which was if you drive by it and you don't know the difference of what's going on there, I don't think it really matters if it's a dog washing shop or if it's indoor storage or if it's a restaurant. It's a commercial use that's listed in our zoning regulation that's allowable in the C3 zone, and I don't think it's government's responsibility or duty to tell people what kind of commercial business they have to do, as long as we've already said that we're okay with commercial storage in the C3 zone.
Thank you. And I think, one thing we do look at is safety concerns, so I appreciate the fire marshal being here and just hearing about the few other nuisance type issues. I feel like those concerns have been addressed in my opinion.
My concern would be still I guess it's the realtor in me, the highest and best use of that property. This goes to storage, it'll never be anything but storage. So I drag my heels on that because of that very reason. I mean, that's what we are taught is, and I'm sure Bonnie can understand where I'm coming from on that. So I struggle very hard with that because, as we said before, this is our gateway and we're putting storage in our gateway. And that bothers me, big time bothers me. I understand, he's got to make a profit on his building. I get that. I appreciate that. Totally understand that. Is it compatible with the adjacent properties there? Yes and no. Yeah, we have apartments right around the corner. But I guess if we want to line First Avenue with storage, then, let's have at it. And that's just where I struggle. I don't want to see that in our, what we're trying to promote business to come. And what business is that going to help? So if I put that there, I'm not going to bring in another building or another business that can thrive off of that, can bounce off of that, I don't think, but storage is storage. So
I would agree. I would agree if this was a conventional storage facility like we see on, we see storage units just north of this on 19th Street off the old railroad. And again, I think this is something that's different. I think it's going to have a nexus to the high-end housing that's in that area where people are going to be looking to have storage. Everybody has their toys. I think it's an okay thing. I think of the history of this property in general, that building has been basically vacant other than the VA since its inception. It hasn't been able to stand anything. We've had the biggest boom our economy has been booming, and if that was such great commercial property for boutiques and restaurants and bars and retail shopping, it would have landed, something would have landed there in the last 5 years.
I disagree with that thinking, Todd. That's my point. Why don't I just buy the bank building on the other opposite side and go in direct business competition with Eric here? And close the, board the windows up and put cold storage in there.
But from a property tax standpoint, it doesn't make a difference. We're still getting our property taxes. Nothing's happening, and I think vacant buildings have a more of a drag on an area than anything.
Well, I understand that, but it's not always about the money.
But it's not about government. If I buy a business, I buy a building, and I've got 25 uses that we as a board has, and the county and the city council have said, you know what, those are okay uses in that zone. And somebody comes in and says, I want to do something that you, as the policymakers, have said that's fine in that zone. Okay, if we don't want to see it, then we should say commercial storage facilities except in the following areas. And then we say, not in this area, not in this area, and this. Otherwise, it makes no sense. We're giving people a carrot, but then all of a sudden we're hitting them with a big stick and they don't see it coming. That's where I'm at with it.
Mr. Chair, this is Ford.
Go ahead, Ford.
While it is true that we say we can have storage facilities in this zone, there's criteria to meet. It's not a blank check just because it's requested. And one of those criteria is general compatibility with adjacent properties. And I also have an issue with that. I do not feel that storage facility in this particular building has general compatibility with adjacent properties. I don't feel it meets that part of the criteria.
Mr. Chair.
Also, I feel as if it opens the door for buying the bank building across the street. And because then it might meet the criteria with general capacity, with general compatibility with adjacent properties. That's the issue I have. I compliment the owners of the building on their planning, their investigation, what they have done to make this more palatable. All that notwithstanding, I just don't feel it meets that specific criteria, which is one of the things we have to look at in order to make a decision on this. General compatibility with adjacent properties, I don't feel is met.
Mr. Chair. May I ask you, Diana, I can throw a rock and hit another storage building from the same very location. And so why is that not generally compatible with what's going on in the area? Throughout our community, we have apartment housing and we have storage in close proximity of that. So what is, from a community-based concept, what's not compatible?
Well, the adjacent properties, as far as I know, are the gas station convenience store, the VA clinic, an abandoned building across the street, a car wash, an empty lot. It's not compatible with those adjacent properties. Adjacent means right there. It doesn't mean a block away, 2-3 blocks away. Adjacent is adjacent, and that's specifically stated in the criteria. It doesn't say within that zone, it says adjacent. It's very easy to throw that particular adjective aside, but it's stated in there. It's written, it's in the ordinance.
Is adjacent defined in the ordinance, Brandy?
Let's look up here.
Chair, if I may, while Brandy's looking that up, I guess my initial concern was kind of like you'd stated. This is something new to Watertown. I think anytime, it's maybe the fear of the unknown of, again, what's going to be in there and how you're going to police it. I think some of the other issue that some of the other board members are having is, this is adjacent to our Gateway Overlay District. Todd, I assume that the other storage facilities you're thinking about are, again, I guess to the, I don't know, whatever, north and east there a little bit on a side street.
Right.
I'm very comfortable with it. You've brought your property manager, and again, when you drive by, it's a well-maintained piece of property. But again, I think it's a little bit of the fear of the unknown. Brandy, you can find your definition all.
Yeah.
That's kind of my viewpoint on it. I guess I'm still up in the air of, what the right answer is. It'd be nice to see that building occupied.
So adjacent in our ordinance is within 250 feet. Abutting or contiguous means,
Touching.
yes.
Well, thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. We've had some good discussion about its compatibility with the neighborhood. Is there any other comments we would like to add before we take a vote?
One last question. Were the abutting landowners, and are those within 250 feet, are those people that you normally noticed? Did they get a letter?
Yes.
Did you receive any comments or from anybody that's in the neighborhood
No.
that would be most directly impacted by this development happening?
Right. No, I didn't.
Thank you.
I think the biggest thing with how the building exists today, nothing exterior is changing. So I think that's just something to consider.
I got a question. They will not be allowed to park something and leave it like a vehicle in the parking lot forever,
No.
like some people do.
Yep. Nope, that would get into our outside or outdoor parking. It's on a private lot, but yeah, if it became a outdoor storage junk car, no, that would not be allowed.
Again, I'm not against the storage, Todd, and so I feel like I'm battling you on this. I get it. I get that this is the prime building. It's sprinkled. It's everything. It's ideal. You got a great plan, but the location is where I stumble, and that therefore you already know because I warned you that will be my vote. But I'm just saying I'm not going to be like, oh man, I just hate that you put that storage in there. It's not about that, but it is the spot that it is going. If it was in a different commercial area, I mean we're planning on putting up $1 million ice arena, and we're going to have storage units around it because I'm going to go buy all the rest of the land on First Avenue and put storage units up on it. Because we're allowing that. That's my, when Jason talks about fear, that's my fear, is that we aren't bringing retail business into where retail business should be for our city. We're putting something that is less desirable than retail. I guess so I'll let it go at that. But that's my only hesitation on this, Todd. It wouldn't be if it were many other buildings in town that I would be.
What if you were to close the loophole from commercial storage and be very specific as in a finding that we would support it because of it's an indoor storage with an exterior that's comparable to other exteriors found in a highway commercial district?
I want to add on that too before you guys continue. We have the Gateway Overlay District. And so where the commercial is happening, they are not allowed to build a building like this today. So it's legal nonconforming. So we're not going to get storage over here because nobody is going to put up a stucco building for storage units. We've already had requests, and there's a lot of multifamily residential happening in this area where the additional storage could be a benefit for the compatibility of the adjacent uses. But that's the biggest thing too, is the Gateway Overlay has the additional aesthetic requirements. So you can't do metal buildings. And for a storage unit, let alone indoor storage, you're most likely not going to get that in the other undeveloped area where we're seeing the dental office and the boutique and coffee shop, salons. We're seeing that stuff go in there. So I think that there's, I'll just leave it at that.
We have a
Call the question.
okay. All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor. I will ask for a roll call vote.
All right. Spire,
Yes.
Ford,
No,
Hanson,
Yes.
Kays,
Yes.
Brink,
Yes.
Oletsky.
This is so hard. I just don't know what else he can do with this building, and it's going to look like everything else. And it, like, he would never be able to build that building the way that it is right now today, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to go yes. It's hard.
Dargis Johnson.
No.
So 5-2.
With a vote of 5-2, motion is carries. Moving on the agenda, item 5 is open public comment. Do we have anyone in the public that wishes to speak on an item that was not discussed today? Seeing none, I'll move on to item 6, which is new business. Do we have any new business?
Yes, so I'll introduce Jana Mills. She is the new planner. So she's been with us since last Tuesday. She's acclimating great, and we're excited to have her on board.
She is also a property appraiser.
Yes, and Jana, some of you guys remember, probably, she was previously with the city for 7 years. So in the capacity in the building services department, and then also as the mayor and city attorney's administrative assistant. So
Well, welcome back.
It's good to have her
Welcome
back.
back to the city. All right, thank you for that introduction. Is there any other new business that any board member has? Hearing none, I'll ask for any old business.
none that I have.
Seeing none, I'll look for a motion and a second to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.